Why not?
Yay, he's
Yeah.
joining us
All right.
in the light.
It's a little bright.
It's a little bright,
It's
yes.
a little bright.
But it's so that you're not
You know,
intimidated
I'm gonna
by
break.
the,
I'm
the
gonna break
flood
all.
of fans.
I'm gonna break the rules.
Okay.
I'm gonna come down a little closer.
You do you.
Because you stand
Shall
up.
I?
Stand up, yeah. Because do you see these little things on the floor?
The spikes?
The spikes. That's where we're supposed to be.
It's true.
But we're not. We're gonna break the rules.
Listen,
gonna come
Barry
down
told
here.
me to do it.
So I can get a little closer. Yeah.
If Barry Bostwick says to do something, you damn well better believe I'm going to do it.
Damn well better. All right. We've talked before.
We have, indeed.
And do you like me?
Only a little, I guess.
Okay, good. All right. I like you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I think you're very clever. Okay.
Go on.
No, really. So now, ask me a clever question.
Can you tell us about your time as a circus performer?
A circus performer. I was in a group called the Clowns with a K. It was a pop group, and we had a couple of songs on the chart, and we were produced by Ringling Brothers, and we were mod clowns, and I taught. There was 5 of us, and I taught 5 of us, and I taught them all how to juggle and do all that kind of stuff, and we were short-lived, very short-lived, and but we had one song called "Lady Love," which was, I think it made the 38 on the chart, with a bullet going down. It was in the wrong direction, but it was fun for, I don't know when it was, late 60s, early 70s, something like that. That's when everybody thought they wanted to be rock and roll, stars, And so a lot of us, when we were in New York at the time, tried everything we could to be in a vocal group, of some sort. And then I was lucky to get into some shows where I was able to be, use my vocal things, Grease and a couple other things, but thank you. Thank you, Grease, yeah. I never thought Summer Lovin' would become such a hit. Ooh. Summer Lovin',
How do you feel about that song now?
Summer Lovin'?
Has it worn out its welcome for you, or are you
no,
still a big fan?
Not at all. No, not at all. We did a sort of a reunion of the original cast of Grease a couple of years ago for Broadway Cares, and I did that with the original Sandy, and it was so much fun. And it's a song that you can't destroy it. It's so simple. Yeah. It's simple. And that's what I was always amazed by, was that this thing became a hit song, right? Did it become a hit song?
Yes, very much so.
Oh, did it really?
You all know this, right? Yes.
Summer lovin' had me a blast. Summer lovin'
happened so fast. Yeah.
Met a girl crazy for me.
Met a boy cute as could be.
Summer days drifting away to other summer nights.
Well.
Yes.
Tell me more. We could waste the whole hour doing
great.
this. You're very good.
Oh, thank you. You are as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Which actually leads me to my next question.
Okay.
So I'm sure a lot of us know you've been, again, involved in every medium you can think of, from the voice acting to film to TV.
Am I having a stroke now, or did the lights just go down a little bit?
No, it's all of us.
Okay, good. Oh, man.
We're having a collective stroke.
I thought, wow, it's been a long weekend. Okay.
But I was wondering if you could tell us, what is your favorite musical theater role you've had?
Oh, that's tough.
On stage.
Oh, on stage? No, I think it would have to be Danny Zuko.
Yeah.
Because he was just so, he was a little of everything. He was sweet, he was a tough guy, tried to be a tough guy. I probably had an affair with every woman in the show, over the years. Those were the years you could do that. That was the 70s. You didn't care. It was everything. In fact, what are you doing after this? Oh yeah, me too. I know.
We'll talk.
Summer lovin'. Really? Right. Is it summer yet?
No.
Okay. Winter
Spring
lovin'.
lovin'?
Yeah.
Is that
All
weird?
right.
Are there any roles that are dream roles for you that you haven't gotten to play yet? That
dream roles?
Yeah.
No. I just do weird things now. You know, I do things like FDR, American Badass.
Did you guys see that?
No.
You should. What are you doing?
Yeah, you
Go.
should do. You should see that. It's very rude, and it's I play FDR, and I did absolutely no research, other than the fact that he had a cigarette thing, you know, in his rounds like that, and we shot it in 6 days, and it's probably one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, you know. But those are the best ones, the ones that you just slide through and, you know, just have a great time with. But your question was, is there anything I'd like to play or would have liked to play? Maybe, you know, way back back in the 70s or early 80s, a lot of actors in LA didn't want to audition for sitcoms, situations. We thought, oh, we're all going to be movie stars, you know, we're not going to. It was a lot different back then because you either had to choose. You either had to be a television actor or a movie actor, and many of us were on the fence, you know. And then so we would turn down auditions. We would say, oh no, I don't want to go up for Cheers, you know.
Big mistake.
And you know, so you didn't, you know, and then you say, well, maybe a 12-year run on a sitcom would have been nice, you know. But and then it became very, you know, gray between the two. People they will go back and forth now, sure. You know. But we were also back then, you know, overconfident, and I guess that's what it took. It took a certain amount of ego to think that you could do anything that you wanted to do, you know. And many of us had the opportunity to do a lot of the things that we wanted to do. But I've turned down some things that I wouldn't turn down now, you know. But hindsight, right? Hindsight. Summer love
is this year, right? It's 2020.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
No, thanks. Yeah, it was terrible. I agree.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
So what is your
then
favorite?
I did another musical called The Robber Bridegroom,
Yes.
which was a really sweet musical. We did it in '77, I think, right? Mm-hmm. You know more about me than I do, so. 78?
I think it's
77?
8.
78?
Yep. I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a huge
If you say
theater
so.
nerd,
If you say so. And it was, we opened on Broadway, and the biggest blizzard that had hit New York in 20 years shut the city down for 3 days. Nobody could move. Nobody could go anywhere. We'd been opened. We got great reviews. We'd been playing for about 2 months, 2.5 months. And we were produced by Juilliard, School of Juilliard, because it had been part of the show had been part of their touring company, and Kevin Kline had done it for them. And then when they did the Broadway version, I did it. And they didn't have any money because it was basically John Houseman and those people over at the Juilliard. So when we weren't making money for a week, we had to close the show because we had no war chest, you know. Right. We weren't like a normal Broadway show where you could put $400,000 in the bank for these weird times. And so we closed, and after that, I got a Tony Award, even though the show wasn't on Broadway anymore. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And that was so unusual, you know. And then we couldn't get anybody to produce the album because it only lasted for 3 months. So I produced the album, you know. A little self-serving, maybe, because...
But worth it.
No, but, well, yes, worth it, because so many shows that I did in New York back then would last 1 night, 2 nights, and you would never get an album. You wouldn't have any idea what the music was like. So I wasn't going to let this one go by. So go out and buy the DVD, or, no, it's not a DVD, a CD.
You actually can do the DVD of it, I think.
You can?
Yeah.
It's called
but I
The
know
Robber Bridegroom.
You can buy the soundtrack for sure.
They redid it on Broadway a couple of years ago. I didn't see it, but it's really a charming show. It's all bluegrass music. There was 4 bluegrass players on stage with us, and it.
Which honestly was pretty revolutionary at the time.
It was,
like,
yeah.
You know, and now that's almost commonplace for a lot of Broadway shows.
To have the musicians on stage and
definitely.
have now if you're an actor, you have to know how to play an instrument because you're going to be accompanying yourself and other people, you know, with all of that, you know. So I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want to go on stage again. It's way too. It's way too nervous making, you know. You have to remember lines. That sucks. You know, really.
It's hard, man. Well, this lovely gentleman has been waiting quite a while, so I think it's time to kick off. I agree.
You are.
I think it's time to kick it off to the audience.
Well, first of all, I want to say I didn't know you were in one of the original boy bands. You might want to promote it that way.
Yes,
Clowns.
right. Well, there was 2 girls in it.
Oh, were there?
Yeah, but the boys were the most important part.
And you got to remember, you can never be timid with a crowd like this because we've all seen you in your underwear.
Yeah.
And this question's probably been asked a million times. I've never heard it asked, but I'm going to ask it. When you first got involved with Rocky Horror Picture Show, was it just a job? Were you guys, what was the mindset, and did you have any idea back then that that thing was going to take off the way that it did?
Well, no, you know, it was a very big hit on stage, you know, with Tim Curry and many of the original cast did the movie. And I think by the time we did the film, it had been running for almost 2 years in London and in Los Angeles. They hadn't opened on Broadway yet, so we knew what a special show it was. We knew that it was pulling in a really interesting crowd, and it started in a little theater in London where they sat 60 people or something, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and so you know, and it was just. You can't turn down the opportunity to work with Susan Sarandon. You know what I mean? I mean, she's ugly, you know, and untalented. And Susan, come on in. And so Susan and I sort of met them together, and they cast us both on the spot. But I think it's 20th Century Fox wanted clean-cut, young American people, and not Brits who hadn't done it on stage and were playing like they were American, you know. And then Meatloaf came in, and he had done it on stage in Los Angeles. But there was only 3 real new cast members in the movie, but I thought that it was a fun job. I thought the themes of it really interested me. I loved the tongue-in-cheek kind of characters, the sort of send-up-yourself characters that I've done a lot of in my life, you know, and it was difficult because it's a difficult show to all the actors playing on the same level of tongue-in-cheekness, you know. It needs a really good director who can keep it grounded and keep it real. And just let the story and the environment be the funny part. It's because the minute you start really overacting in it, which was so easy to do, and it's consequently most casts do that. I think it just turns into a big mishmash. I don't think it's the same thing with Grease. I think you have to really play those kids like real kids, you know, and you can't just be doing too much of this stuff, you know. Overacting. So I save my overacting for all the other jobs I do. The Hallmark movies. I love overacting in a Hallmark movie. You know? Okay. I didn't answer that question. Get out of here.
I would just, the real reason I asked it was because of the change of the medium from stage to film, and you coming into it after it had already been big on the stage.
Yeah.
Were they worried how it was going to do on film, or they just want to take a shot and ride the gravy train at that time?
No, I don't think there was a gravy train because the 20th Century almost pulled the plug a week before we started because I think they sent some executives from Hollywood to London where we were shooting, and they saw the set and they saw the characters and they thought, what the hell is this? You know, we're not going to put $1 million into this. And I don't know why they didn't know what they were why they didn't know what they were into, but I know that they had to fight very hard to keep this thing on track. The producers did, and they did. But we did it for $1 million, which was not a lot of money for a musical, and now it's made what, $80 million back or something? I don't know.
I'd say a little bit more than that.
Really, more than $80 million? Well, I've seen none of it. Okay, so I don't care.
That's why he does conventions.
Yeah, that's why we do conventions. No, I found out like a month or two ago from Larry Wiesel, who's the head of the sort of fan club of Rocky Horror worldwide now, and he said, you know, I have your original contract, and I have Susan's contract. He bought it in from some auction or something, and he said, you do know that Susan made more money than you, and I thought, that bitch. She never told me that she made more money than me, so I'll never forgive her. But yeah, no, and so it was a low budget movie, and it was a big failure when it first came out. So it's 45 years later, and I'm still talking about it, and I'm not tired of talking about it because I love the movie and I love what it says about society and about people's needs to be genuine in their lives, and and besides that, it's just a big party, you know, and we have such great fun with the shadow casts and the audiences, and it's just become a whole different form of entertainment, and I stay involved. I stay involved with the shadow casts because they're great kids, you know, and some of them have been doing it for 10, 15 years, every Friday, Saturday night somewhere. And I say to them, get a job. You know, I say, why are you doing this? And they say, because we love it, because we love the musical, we love the people we're around, you know, and it's a musical, and it's an environment that creates a sort of safe place for outcasts, you know, societal outcasts, and they find their own company, and I love that. I love the fact that so many people who've been involved in this over the years have created these long-ranging relationships, and there's been marriages, and there's been kids conceived in the back row of some little theater, you know, and I appreciate that, and I applaud all of that, you know, and I know that it's the kind of thing that if you're starting to date somebody, right, you say, let's go see Rocky Horror Picture Show. And if the person you're dating doesn't like it or is offended by it, break up with them immediately, because that is
yeah, we've all made them do the test,
That is a sure
right?
sign that you're not going to get along after the fact. All right.
Okay. Hi, tell us your name.
Hi, my name's Annabelle. I'm from Northern Virginia. I was wondering, given that you've worked in every medium, which one is your favorite that you've been involved with? Voice acting, stage?
Voice acting is great because you can do it in your underwear. But well, you know, I like working in television only because it's fast. You know, you get in, you do it, and then you're on to something else. And you know, whether it's a TV movie, I did a lot of miniseries back in the 80s and 90s. And you'd get in, you'd be very concentrated, you'd focus, and then you'd move on to something else, you know, in 3 weeks, a month maybe, or 2 months at the most. And it suits the sort of ADD personality, you know. You don't have to sit and do Hamlet every night saying to be or not to be, which is something that I would find hellish, you know. And so I think probably television or low-budget films. You know, it gets the same sort of shooting schedule, 3 weeks a month, as in FDR, 6 days. You know, or you know, you go in and do. I did one day on a show called American Pie Girls Rules about a month ago. And, I did one day, and then I'll do it something else. I did a movie called Outlaw Johnny Black about a month ago. And maybe I worked 5 days or 6 days. But I got to play a really bad guy in a cowboy movie. And I thought, well, I've never done a cowboy movie, So I did that for 5 or 6 days. And now I can say, I've got a great picture with me with real cowboys, and I can, always enjoy that and put that up on my bulletin board and go, I was a cowboy for 5 days,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Hi, tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Leslie, also from Northern Virginia, and I just wanted to tell you I have seen the Robert Bridegroom when it toured the college campuses back in 78, 79, in that time frame.
Was John Goodman in it then?
I have
John
no
Goodman was
idea.
in. I think he played.
All I know is I saw your name, and I'm like, oh my God, is this the guy from the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. No, it's a very charming show, and if you get a chance to see it or do it somewhere, it's a very accessible. I'm not saying easy to do show, but it's done in high schools and colleges and community theaters all over the country. And if you have a chance to see it, see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Michelle. I'm originally from New York. I actually had a question. Could you tell us about working on Devil's Carnival?
Devil's Carnival, Alleluia. It's, this cult movies, if you're talking about cult movies, Devil's Carnival was a part of a series of films that were made. It's a musical about the devil and God, and I don't know what it was about. All I know is I played a guy named the Watchword, and I had this funny song, and it just never caught on, Maybe it'll catch on like Rocky Horror did years later, but it's not quite as sexy as Rocky. And that's what made Rocky, I think, so good, so attractive. It was really sexy. Sexy people, whether you were a man or a woman, you could always be attracted to Tim Curry, as we all are. In fact, I was attracted to him so much in the movie that apparently I had sex with him in the movie. I was bludgeoned by him. But what did you say? I got Tim Curry.
I was wondering what it was like working on Devil's Carnival.
Devil's Carnival. Would you explain to these people what Devil's Carnival is?
I actually think you summed it up because I've seen it a couple times and I'm still trying to figure things out about it.
Yeah. Well, it's a feature film. The first one, Devil's Carnival, was like a 1 hour thing, 1 hour film, and then they made the feature, which was the second one, and it's really good music and sort of a dark story in some ways. But it gave me a chance to sing, and anytime I can get a chance to sing on film, I will jump at it. And Darren Bousman, who directed it, keeps working. What did he do? Did he do Halloween? One of those Halloweens? No, he did.
I think he's most famous for Repo the Genetic Opera.
Oh, Repo the Genetic Opera. Yeah. No, he didn't do Halloween. He did. He did. I don't remember, but he's really good. He's really good. So anytime I have an opportunity to work with people like that, who are very similar to the Rocky Horror people, who were very clever, very bright, at the top of their game, young, and they had a vision, and they were willing to let everything else go and just focus. And Darren's that way, and Jim Sharman was that way, who directed Rocky Horror, and Richard O'Brien certainly is that way, who wrote Rocky Horror and was in it, obviously. And those people I love because they're right-centered, they're myopic, they don't go anywhere else but where they're going. The blinders are on, and I like those people. I like those people a lot because I don't think I'm like that. I think I'm a little bit too. My peripheral vision is a little too wide, and so I need people to focus me, in my work. So, thank you.
Thank
Did
you.
I answer? Did I answer it? Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Our line has dwindled. Does anybody else? Yeah, let's do it.
My name is Ryan. I'm from Northern Virginia. This is just something that I've been curious for a while. When Rocky Horror Picture came out, I know it was a box office bomb, but how was it well received with a lot of especially at the 20th century, wasn't very accepting of homosexual lifestyle, like the transvestite vampire and others. But how was it received? Because the 20th century USA did not like the gay culture very much at the time. So, what was it? How was the feedback on it, especially with the LGBT stuff in it?
Well, I mean, yeah. At the time, if you were standing in front of a theater, dressed in that garb, in the 70s, you might be beat up. And that happened a lot. Like in New York, when it was playing there, it was not that accepted. And in fact, the whole theme of it wasn't accepted until they realized that that's who was going to make this movie popular and have fun with it and not judge it. And I think that the whole community supported it in the beginning and continues to support it. I think there's a slight group who are opposed to. It's hard to talk about because I don't really know that much about it, but they're opposed to the sort of trans version of it, where you got to realize that Tim was a guy and he was a real man who was just in drag but he wasn't like in the Fox movie, where I forget what her name was who played it, but
Laverne Cox, yeah.
Laverne, yeah, and that was very confusing to me because here was in my sense, a woman playing a man who was trying to be a woman, and it was like there was one step too far. It wasn't. I don't think it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I wasn't a big fan of the Fox version. Some of the songs were great, but I think they tried a little too hard. But 45 years later, they keep on trying to find something fresh about it, whether it's a new DVD or some song that they've discovered that was cut from it, or some fresh way to bring it to the public because they believe in the themes, and the message of it. But you're right. I think it was like sort of on the cutting edge of making that community acceptable, and I think I'm proud of the movie for doing that, for being influential. I think just in this society. Yes, I don't know if I answered your question, but
You pretty much did.
okay, great, thank you.
Anybody else got questions? Feel free to step on up. We got time. Otherwise, we're going to get weird.
Summer loving had me a blast.
Barry Bostwick's hitting on me, guys.
That's
What do I
very
do?
good.
Do I say yes?
Do you have a question for me?
Thumbs up.
Are you guys liking this convention? Is it fun, isn't it? This is a good one. This is a good one, I gotta say. He really puts on a great convention. There's so much to do. There's so many kinds of things to take up your time and your money, and everybody's treated really well. Certainly, from our standpoint, we're all treated great, and so we look forward to coming to the GalaxyCons. So I'll be back to a GalaxyCon. I don't know if I'll be here in a while. I was here last year, And I don't want another person coming up to my table going, oh, you know, I saw you last year. You know, I got your autograph last year. Good to see you again, but I don't want to see you again. You know, no, nobody said that. Am I back in August? Scares That Cares. That's right. I am back here in August for Scares That Cares. Nell and Patricia are going to be here. Columbia and whatever that, like Magenta. Yeah. That's right. We're all going to be there. Oh, that's going to be fun. When the three of us get together, we have a blast. Patricia Quinn is the historian for Rocky Horror Picture Show because she was also, as Nell was in the original show on stage, and she knows everything about it. So if you really want to know anything about Rocky Horror Picture Show or Rocky Horror Show, you come to Scares That Cares and ask Nell and ask Pat, and they'll keep you busy for a good half hour. You know, I know nothing about this movie. I just went, did a little film for 4 weeks, and now everybody thinks I know something about it. And I try to read, there's so many books out on it, and I try to read the books and figure out what I did and who I was, and any stories, that interesting stories about it. And so if I ever tell an interesting story, it's usually something I read somebody else say. Because I don't remember a damn thing. You know, it's 45 years ago. What do you expect? You know, so stop asking me questions about Rocky Horror Picture Show. No, that's true. I don't remember anything about it. But there are some wonderful stories. You know, besides the fact that all of the Transylvanians were stoned all the time, it was a good time if I can remember it. We shot it in a little studio called Bray Studios, which was about an hour and a half from London, right around Windsor. And thank you. Isn't that nice, huh?
They love you.
They love me, don't they? They're listening to everything I'm saying. Yeah.
They're just having a blast because of him.
Yes, and so it was very low budget. There weren't any toilets on the set. Was that funny? Really? And it was cold and miserable, and we had a great time. But we did, really. We had a wonderful time.
They love that it was cold and miserable
Thank
for you.
Yeah.
What is going on
it's
there?
wrestling,
but
right?
listen.
I should go over there and wrestle.
Yeah.
I wrestled once on one of these shows. Boy, it was.
Oh yeah,
that was a
because you got the
mistake.
belt.
I got the belt.
Yeah.
I won. Yeah.
Was anybody around for that? That was
Yeah.
in.
No. Was it here? No.
Oh, was that Raleigh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Wrestling.
Raleigh. Oh, we got another question in
You
the
have a question?
audience.
Thank God, I
Hi.
run out of things to say.
Are you personally like a fan of anything at the con? Like, are you a fan of anything?
Wow.
And I guess to tack on to that too, are there any celebrities that you've met that were idols of yours, or that you have been really excited about meeting? No.
I don't know any of them.
What about the Flash?
I
The Flash is
don't. I
here.
mean, Shatner. Everybody's excited about meeting Shatner, right? Just because he's an icon, and he, and I like his work. I thought he was so good in Boston Legal, right? Was he in? Yeah, Boston Legal. I just loved him in that, and we have the same agent. So whenever he turns something down, I perhaps get a shot at it. So I always appreciate that. I know a lot of the people here, a lot of the actors, and then the ones I don't know, I don't care about, basically. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to talk to the fans and make friends with them. And I don't need to go out and have dinner with some of those people, whoever they are. It's weird. I sit there at my little table, and I look across, and I go, who are those people? And everybody knows who they are except for me.
I don't. It's fine.
You don't know? No, you don't? I like the voice guys. I think the voice guys are fascinating, is that they can have a career in their underwear. I just find that fascinating.
You kind of have too, though, to be fair.
Oh, I've had a few voice. Yeah, I mean, I was at Incredibles 2 this year, and
Phineas and Ferb.
and what's that?
Phineas.
Phineas and Ferb. Yeah. And I've had some success in that, but I have to audition from home at my desk. I've got a little box, that I have foam in it and a little microphone, and then I audition and I send it in, and then I never hear from them again. Those guys. I mean, that is a job. I mean, they're doing that 8 hours a day, going from one studio to another. And I've never really focused on all the different voices that I could create, and and it's a very specific talent. I don't, I would like to be able to just use my voice to do them and not feel like I gotta go like this, because I don't know how to do that. I could do that, and go tonight on ABC,
Then you wouldn't have a voice by tomorrow.
But I wouldn't. But there's so many people out there who do that every day, and you go, well, why am I fighting these guys? They're going to get the call, and I'm just going to be going at home in my little office at midnight going, tonight on ABC, But it keeps me interested. Yes?
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And my question is, who's like your favorite person that you've worked with throughout your career, whether voice or actor or anyone?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one because I've worked with so many bad actors.
Okay, who was your least favorite?
Oh, no, I couldn't say that. That would be very difficult because there's so many of them.
You'd get libeled.
Maybe the guy from Hawaii Five-0, the original guy from Hawaii Five-0. Who was that?
I don't know. I wasn't alive yet.
Names are.
Huh?
Oh, wait. Jack Moore?
No.
Lord.
Jack Lord.
L-O-R-D.
Yeah, I did a 2-hour Jack Lord thing. What was that? Yeah, Hawaii Five-0. And we went to Singapore, and we did this 2-hour. Victoria Principal and myself, and we went there and we shot it there, and we had no real dressing rooms or anything. And Jack said, "Well, you can use my bus. Go on in and sit in the back of my bus. So we did, but we had to rehearse a fight scene, Jack Lord and myself, because I was playing this sort of smarmy bad guy. And we rehearsed it, and then the camera started rolling, and he didn't do anything we had rehearsed. And he just started beating me up. And I thought, well, that's how he always looks like he wins. At any fight that he does in that show is because he basically beats up the other actor.
He just tricks everyone.
So
that's unfair.
Well, it was all right. It was all right. It was a job. And I got to Singapore, which was very interesting. And I got to work with Victoria Principal. And she was gorgeous. Probably still is. Don't know. I'm sure she is. She's still alive? Yeah. Okay. Good. So then she's probably great then. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you seem to have a lot of questions you could just Google. You should really get a smartphone.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
But who was my favorite? Deborah Carr, maybe, or something like that. It would be. I don't know. I've worked with so many interesting people. I haven't. Oh God, I hate these questions. What is your favorite movie? Who's your favorite actor? I'm a Pisces, so therefore, I don't have any opinions about anything. I have opinions about everything but nothing. I'm so wishy-washy that I don't even know why you're sitting here after 45 minutes. I don't know what you're getting out of this. You should be out there playing games and, going to Shatner's thing. Yes, exactly. But you have a question, sir, with a headband. Is that a headband?
Yeah.
Well, I had a headband in a movie called Megaforce years ago. And that headband was very important to me. I was doing a show called Pirates of Penzance. I did the LA production of Pirates of Penzance, and I had a blue headband in the show. And halfway through the show, or sometime in the show, I would take the headband off and I'd throw it into the audience, to some pod of beautiful women, if I could do that. And one afternoon, I threw it, and this lady picked it up. And then I found out later that it was Hal Needham's wife, who Hal Needham was doing this movie, Megaforce. And his wife came home one night and said, I saw this guy on stage, and he threw his headband right at me. I think you should cast him as Ace Hunter. And so I got the job as Ace Hunter because I threw something at his wife, yeah, so the headband means a lot to me. What do you want?
So at this convention, they do a show of Rocky Horror, and you'll be invited to, but have you ever been in a city where they've been doing a show and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go crash it and just like walk in and see how that happens? If not, would you consider
I
doing
think
that?
originally, when it was first, when it was really sort of picking up steam, we all would like go and sneak in the back just to see what the hell was going on, and we were totally amused by it. Susan would do it, she'd bring friends, and they would go in the back. And I remember Tim once went to a show, and Tim Curry, and he said, I'm Tim Curry, and they wouldn't let him in because they didn't believe he was Tim Curry. And so, and I would go, years ago, I think it was in LA at the Tiffany or something, I went and they presented me with a gold album of because it went gold, the record. And I presented them with a pair of my underwear from the movie, signed to the theater. And then years later, I thought to myself, well, that's a great gimmick. So I started selling my underwear at conventions. and as a marketing ploy, I've realized that it's so much fun because I have at my table, underwear that I get at Target, by the way, and I sign it, and I have a little sign saying, "Buy my underwear. I've got 2 kids in college," and it's true. It's true. I actually have 2 kids in college, and if you buy my underwear, it helps me pay for their college education, and so I'm waiting for the time that I've paid off, the kids are out of school, and then I never have to sell my underwear again. So it'll be such a collector's item. It'll be an eBay item. You'll see, 10 years. I've got Barry Bostwick's Brad Major's underwear. How much will you give me for it? And you might get less than what you paid me for it, if you're lucky. But yes, I have no idea what you asked, but I'm happy to see you with your headband.
Thank you. All right, we have time for this one last question. We got to wrap up, and then we'll take our group photo.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jasmine. Less of a question and more of a comment. So my mother was a huge fan, and I grew up listening to the LP, the Rocky Horror Picture Show LP, long before I was ever given permission or deemed old enough to see the movie. So, 7, 8 years old, I'm doing the time warp at home, not understanding, the movie or how it came to be, just watching my mom do it.
At least you weren't doing I'm a Sweet Transvestite at 7 or 8.
But I knew the lyrics, and I knew them by heart.
Oh, that's great.
But some young ladies get a sweet 16. Some people get a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah or a quinceañera. I was finally deemed old enough and mature enough to go see the Rocky Horror Picture Show at age 15. So thank you for being part of my childhood and helping me celebrate that coming of age.
Thank you. I'm glad it's part of your life. It's been a part of many, many, many people's lives. And I always like the stories that I get back from people who tell me about their first time seeing it and how they had to sneak out and were punished by, their parents because they were found sneaking back in at 3 in the morning. Really? Yeah, 3, yeah.
I don't know what you mean.
The big ploy was, I'm going to go to Jim's house and we're spending the night. I'll be over at Jim's house. And then Jim's parents are alcoholics. So they've fallen asleep by 11 o'clock. So you and Jim go to the theater and come back at 3 o'clock, but that's not a true story. I'm just making that up. But there's probably a guy named Jim whose parents are alcoholics. But those are the kind of things, and what it meant to a 13 or 14-year-old about the passage, into finding out who they were and finding out what they wanted, finding out, just that they're unique individuals, and that you can really explore not only your sexuality but your personality, and you're not stuck. It's a show that says you're not stuck in pleasing everybody. You just have to please yourself, and make that stick. Get the hell out of here. You got better things to do.